When someone wrongs you, betrays you, or tries to tear you down, the immediate urge is to fight back, to make them feel the same pain they caused you. But here's the truth. The most devastating form of revenge is not in screaming, arguing, or plotting against them. It's in winning. It's in building yourself up so powerfully that their words, their actions, and their attempts to break you no longer matter. When you rise so high that they can't even reach you, you take away the only thing they had: influence over your life. This is not about pretending what they did didn't hurt. It's about refusing to let them dictate how your story ends. Every time you pour your energy into payback, you stop feeding your own growth. You get stuck in a loop with them. But when you shift that energy toward your goals, toward becoming unstoppable, you break free from that loop and leave them in the very place they try to keep you in. The moment you decide that your life is no longer about proving them wrong but about proving yourself right, you change the entire game. See, people who try to sabotage you often do it because they see something in you they can't achieve themselves. They want you to stay small so they can feel big. But when you turn that pain into fuel, you make every single one of their efforts meaningless. Imagine taking every insult, every act of betrayal, and using it like bricks to build your own empire. They threw those bricks to break you. Instead, you use them to elevate yourself. That's power. That's revenge that leaves no trace of bitterness. Only victory. If you want the kind of revenge that silences your enemies for good, it's not about what you say to them, it's about what you show them. Show them that they failed. Show them that you are untouchable. Show them that while they wasted their time trying to tear you down, you were busy climbing. And here's the twist. When you reach the top, you won't even need to look back at them, because you'll realize they were never as important as they tried to make themselves. When you outgrow your enemies, you rob them of their identity. Without someone to fight, they have nothing. And you have everything. But to pull this off, you need discipline. You can't be half in and half out. If you let anger consume you, it will cloud your judgment and keep you tethered to the very people you want to escape. You have to make a conscious decision to cut the emotional cord. That means no late night overthinking, no crafting the perfect comeback in your head, no scrolling to see what they're doing. You redirect every ounce of that energy into actions that move your life forward. Work on your craft, build your body, grow your mind, strengthen your network, level up in ways they never saw coming. There's something deeply unsettling for a person who tried to destroy you when they see you thriving. It forces them to confront their failure. They can't claim credit for your downfall because there is no downfall. They can't twist the narrative because your success speaks louder than any lie they could tell. And the beauty is, you don't have to explain a thing. You don't have to clear your name, defend your reputation, or justify your choices. Success makes your silence deafening. Understand this. Revenge through success is not about ego. It's not about proving you're better than someone else. It's about reclaiming control over your life and refusing to be defined by someone else's actions. It's about building something so strong that no betrayal, no rumor, no attack can shake it. It's about making sure your happiness, your stability, and your future are in your hands, not theirs. That's a different kind of power. One they can't take away, one they can't touch, and one they'll never forget. When you channel your energy into success instead of retaliation, you win twice. First, you win because you rise above them. Second, you win because you didn't let them poison your character. The world is full of people who burn themselves out trying to get even, only to end up more damaged than the person they were trying to hurt. That's not victory. That's a slow defeat. But when you choose growth over grudges, you come out stronger, sharper, and far ahead. So the next time you feel that pull toward revenge, stop and ask yourself, is this going to make me better, or is this just going to keep me stuck in the mud with them? If it's the latter, walk away. Invest in yourself. Pour everything into becoming the kind of person whose life is so full, so abundant, and so unshakable that no one's betrayal can touch it. That's how you get the last word without ever speaking it. That's how you win without ever lifting a finger against them. Because at the end of the day, nothing cuts deeper than watching the person you tried to destroy live a life you can't even dream of. That's the kind of revenge you can be proud of for the rest of your life. When someone wrongs you, your first instinct might be to match their energy, to give them back exactly what they gave you. But here's the hard truth. When you fight dirty with someone who's already living in the mud, you've already lost the moment you step into their arena. Because now you're playing by their rules, and their rules are designed to drag you down to a place where you can't think clearly, where your emotions rule your actions, where you make decisions you regret. They want you reactive. They want you unbalanced. They want you to lose your composure, because that's when you start making mistakes. When you match their hostility, you feed the very cycle they thrive on. And whether you realize it or not, you've just handed over your power. Every insult you throw back, every petty move you make, ties you to them in a toxic loop. You're giving them time, energy, and emotional space they don't deserve. You're becoming exactly what you despise. Real strength isn't about mirroring their behavior. It's about standing so far above it that they can't reach you no matter how loud they scream. That's what they can't handle. Your refusal to engage, your refusal to be baited into a fight that benefits no one but them. Because when you don't match their energy, you're forcing them to face their own reflection without your interference. You're taking away the chaos they feed on, and that frustrates them more than any comeback you could ever deliver. See, the problem with fighting on their level is you forget your own values in the process. You become reactive instead of intentional, and that's exactly how you lose sight of the life you're trying to build. You can't elevate while you're knee deep in someone else's mess. You can't focus on your next move when you're busy defending yourself against every jab. You have to ask yourself, do I want to be right in this moment, or do I want to win in the long run? Because those are not always the same thing. When you choose to rise above, you're not saying what they did was okay. You're saying it's not worth your time. You're saying you value your peace, your reputation, your future more than the temporary satisfaction of getting the last word. Think about the people you respect most, the ones who command presence. They don't waste time in petty battles. They're too busy building, creating, moving forward. That's the mindset you need to adopt. This doesn't mean you stay silent and allow mistreatment. It means you handle it strategically, not emotionally. You set boundaries. You walk away from what doesn't serve you. You protect your space like it's sacred. Because it is. You understand that matching their anger with more anger only leaves you drained. And in the end, you've gained nothing. The moment you stop taking their bait, you start reclaiming your energy. That's the shift they can't control, and that's the one that breaks the cycle. It's not weakness, it's restraint, and restraint is one of the most dangerous forms of power. You can have they expect you to be predictable, to react exactly how they would in your place. But when you choose a different response, you disrupt their entire plan. They don't know what to do with your calm. They don't know how to handle your focus, and suddenly, they're the ones scrambling. They're the ones losing control. Matching their energy is easy. Anyone can lash out, but holding your ground without stooping down, that takes discipline, that takes clarity, and most importantly, it takes self-respect, because you know you're worth more than a petty fight. You know your future demands more than being dragged into someone else's chaos. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this. Your silence is not weakness. Your calm is not submission. It's strategy. It's the choice to conserve your energy for something that actually moves you forward. It's sometimes a refusal to hand over your power to someone who's not even operating on your level. Stop letting people pull you into the mud just because they live there. Stop giving them the satisfaction of seeing you break character. Stop thinking that revenge has to be loud. The most devastating blow you can deliver is your refusal to be affected. Because while they're still consumed by hate, anger, and drama, you're out there building a life they can't touch. And that is the only victory worth having. When you start paying attention, you'll realize something most people don't want to admit. Those who are quick to turn others against you rarely come with a warning label. They hide it behind a smile, behind fake concern, behind the illusion that they're just looking out for you. But their true goal is to plant seeds of doubt in the minds of others, and they do it quietly. So quietly you might not even notice until the damage is done. They'll twist your words just enough to change their meaning. They'll exaggerate small mistakes until they look like character flaws. And they'll sprinkle in just enough truth to make their lies believable. Because pure fiction is easy to spot, but half-truths are dangerous. They're believable enough to stick. These people don't come for your reputation all at once. They erode it piece by piece, so by the time you notice, You're already standing on shaky ground. The most dangerous part is they rarely do this in front of you. They operate in shadows, in private conversations, in subtle glances that plant doubt without a single word. They'll frame themselves as the voice of reason, making others think they're the only ones brave enough to tell the truth about you. And it works because humans are naturally drawn to drama, to conflict, to the idea that there's something hidden beneath the surface when someone whispers a negative narrative about you. Even people who've known you for years might start questioning what they believe. That's the power of suggestion, and it's why you can't afford to let these people live rent-free in your life. You need to understand that defending yourself to every person who hears their story is a trap, because the more you chase down rumors, the more you validate them in the eyes of others. That's exactly what the manipulator wants. To see you scrambling, reacting, desperate to explain. Because desperation makes you look guilty, even when you're not. Instead, your best defense is consistency. You keep showing up as yourself. You keep operating with integrity. You let your actions speak louder than their whispers. Because while lies travel fast, truth is patient, and it has a way of revealing itself over time. But that only works if you don't get dragged into their games. The reason these people are so effective is because they know how to exploit trust. They often target those who are respected, those with influence, because tearing you down makes them feel bigger. It's their way of stealing what they can't build for themselves. And they don't need you to fail completely. They just need enough people to doubt you so your position weakens, so your confidence shakes, so your network thins. And once you start questioning yourself, they've already won half the battle. This is why you have to be unshakable in your sense of self. You have to know exactly who you are and what you stand for. Because if you don't, you'll start believing the version of you they're selling to others. There's a reason they work in the dark. It's because they know their tactics wouldn't hold up under direct light. They can't confront you head on because then they'd have to back up their claims, and they can't do that without exposing their own intentions. So they hide and they wait. And they feed little drops of poison until the people around you start pulling away. But here's the thing about poison. It works slow, and slow is your advantage, because it gives you time to notice, time to strengthen the relationships that matter, time to cut off their access before the damage becomes irreversible. And when you do that, when you pull their influence out by the roots, they have nowhere left to spread. So when you encounter someone like this, your job is not to stoop to their level. Your job is to starve them of oxygen. They thrive on reaction, on drama, on the chaos that comes when you fight back with the same venom. But when you don't react, when you keep your focus, when you move with quiet confidence, you're sending a message they can't spin. You're untouchable, and nothing they say can change that. People eventually notice patterns. They notice who's always at the center of conflict and who's always moving forward regardless. And when that realization comes, the manipulator loses their power. You protect yourself by protecting your space. Mentally, emotionally, and physically, you watch who you share your struggles with. You keep your circle small and tight. You understand that not every friendly face is a friend, and you accept that some people only come close so they can find your weaknesses. But once you know this, you stop giving them anything to work with. You live in such a way that even if they try to tarnish your name, the people who matter will see through it without you saying a word. That's the real win. Not proving them wrong to everyone, but building a life so solid that no whisper can shake it. When someone wrongs you, it's tempting to make their destruction your mission, to put all your energy into plotting ways to get back at them. But the truth is, every second you spend obsessing over their downfall is a second stolen from your own progress. And that's a price you can't afford to pay, because the most devastating and lasting form of revenge is to become so focused on your own growth that they fade into irrelevance. You don't just want to avoid the fight. You want to remove yourself from the battlefield entirely. And that means shifting your mindset from proving them wrong to proving yourself right, from wanting them to lose to making sure you win. Your energy is a currency, and if you spend it on anger, resentment, and bitterness, you're bankrupting yourself of the resources you need to move forward. Your time is limited, your focus is precious, and your attention is your most valuable weapon. So why waste it on someone who isn't even worth the thought? When you choose to focus on self-mastery, you're taking the high ground. You're saying, I control my path, I control my destiny, and I refuse to hand that power to anyone else. Because chasing revenge keeps you tethered to them, like a prisoner chained to the very person you want to escape. Every move you make is in reaction to them. And that means they still have control over your life, but when you decide to elevate yourself, to invest in your skills, your health, your relationships, and your future, you break that chain, you stop being reactive and start being proactive. You don't need to fight to prove your worth. You need to grow to a point where their opinion no longer matters. Self-mastery is about building strength from the inside out. It's about discipline, focus, resilience, and emotional control. It's about training your mind to resist the bait they'll dangle in front of you. It's about knowing that their actions, their gossip, their hate are nothing more than noise, and you don't waste time arguing with noise. You rise above it, and the beauty of this approach is that while they're watching, waiting, and hoping you'll engage, you're moving in silence, stacking wins, building momentum, and creating a life so far removed from their reach that they can't touch it. When you pour your energy into yourself, you gain power they can't destroy, because they can't destroy what they can't access. The day you stop reacting to their attacks is the day they start losing power over you. They'll try to provoke you, to drag you into conflict, to keep you playing their game. But you've upgraded to a game they can't even enter. And here's the truth. Nothing will bother them more than watching you thrive without acknowledging their existence. Nothing will frustrate them more than realizing their insults, their schemes, their petty attempts have no impact on you. Self-mastery is revenge without the poison. It's victory without the battle. It's freedom without the chains. You become untouchable not because you defeated them, but because you outgrew them. You stopped letting them define the terms of your life, and that is what breaks their hold over you. So if you want real revenge, don't fight them, don't chase them, don't even speak their name. Turn your focus inward. Sharpen your mind, strengthen your body, elevate your spirit, build a life that reflects your highest potential, and one day, you'll look back and realize they were nothing more than a small obstacle on a much greater journey. You'll realize they were just noise in the background of your symphony, and your success will be the music that drowns them out entirely. The most powerful statement you can make to someone who hurt you is not in what you say to them, but in what you become without them. There's a certain kind of silence that speaks louder than any confrontation, a silence that says, "Don't need you, your approval, or your validation." And this silence is built on one thing: growth. When you level up, when you take the pain they caused and use it as fuel, you create a version of yourself they can't recognize. And that's unsettling for them, because the person they thought they could manipulate, control, or break is gone. Every achievement you earn, every goal you reach, every step you take toward becoming stronger, smarter, and more capable is like a quiet reminder that you didn't just survive them. You evolve because of them. Revenge doesn't have to be loud or dramatic. In fact, the most devastating revenge is subtle and undeniable. It's when they see you from a distance living the life they never thought you could. Standing in spaces they never imagined you'd reach, and smiling in a way that tells them they no longer have any power over your emotions. This kind of revenge isn't about showing off. It's about genuinely transforming your life to the point where you're unrecognizable to the person who knew you at your lowest. And the best part is, you don't even have to think about them anymore, because your focus is so deeply rooted in your own growth that they become irrelevant. Leveling up isn't just about material success, it's about emotional and mental evolution. It's about walking into a room and commanding respect without having to demand it. It's about developing skills and habits that make you unstoppable in your personal and professional life. And it's about becoming so confident in your own path that no one's opinion, especially theirs, can shake you. When they see you thriving, they will remember every word they said to try to keep you small. They will remember every moment they doubted you, and they will have to sit with the fact that you proved them wrong without ever addressing them directly. That's the kind of revenge that doesn't just sting. It lingers, because it forces them to face their own limitations. The truth is, people who try to hurt you often operate from a place of insecurity. They want to see you fail so they can feel better about themselves, and when you succeed in spite of their efforts, it forces them to confront their own lack of growth. They may never admit it, but deep down, they'll feel it. And that's enough. Every day you choose to get up and work on yourself, to push through challenges, to stay disciplined. You're widening the gap between who you were when they knew you and who you are now, until one day that gap is so vast they can't reach you even if they tried. And you didn't get there by plotting against them. You got there by building yourself. So let them talk, let them watch, let them think they know your story. Because while they're busy underestimating you, you're out here rewriting the entire book. And when they finally see the life you've built, they'll realize they were never the main character in your story. They were just a chapter you outgrew. When you truly understand the value of your energy, you stop wasting it on battles that don't matter. You start realizing that revenge isn't about chasing after them or proving them wrong directly. It's about protecting your peace so fiercely that nothing and no one can pull you out of alignment. When someone hurts you, the first impulse might be to react, to defend yourself, to make them feel the same pain they caused you. But in doing that, you're still giving them control, because they're dictating your actions and your focus. The real power comes when you decide to starve them of your attention entirely, when you choose not to engage, not to argue, not to explain yourself. You're sending a silent but powerful message. You're not worth my time, you're not worth my energy, and you no longer have a seat at my table. And this isn't about being cold or heartless. It's about recognizing that your energy is currency, and you refuse to spend it on someone who's already cost you enough. Every time you engage with toxic people, you're allowing them to pull you into their chaos. They thrive on emotional reactions, on knowing they still have a way to get under your skin. But the moment you stop feeding them that energy, you cut off their supply. They'll try to provoke you. They might spread lies. They might try to pull you into drama. But when you stand firm and refuse to play their game, you take away their power piece by piece. Your silence becomes louder than any insult, and your absence becomes heavier than any presence, because it forces them to face themselves without distraction. Protecting your peace means setting boundaries so firm that no manipulation can break through. It means saying no without guilt, walking away without fear, and letting go without needing closure from them. You stop seeking explanations from people who already showed you who they are, and you start channeling all that energy you would have wasted on them into yourself, your goals, your growth, and your healing. You learn to respond to betrayal not with retaliation, but with elevation, because every second you spend trying to hurt them back is a second you could have spent building yourself up. When you protect your peace, you're not ignoring what happened. You're choosing not to let it dictate the direction of your life. You're choosing to live on your own terms instead of reacting to theirs. And over time, that decision builds an unshakable sense of strength. They'll notice, even if they pretend they don't. They'll feel the shift when you no longer flinch at their words, when you stop checking their updates, when you stop caring about their opinion entirely. And that realization will unsettle them more than any confrontation ever could, because now, they don't just lack access to you, they lack the ability to affect you. The greatest revenge isn't making them feel small, it's making yourself so grounded and fulfilled that their existence becomes irrelevant. And once you've experienced that kind of freedom, you'll never give your peace away so cheaply again. There's a moment in life when you realize that the person who hurt you is not worth the place they've been occupying in your mind. And the smartest move you can make is to quietly outgrow them. This isn't about pretending they never hurt you or acting like you're fine when you're not. It's about redirecting every ounce of energy they took from you into something that makes you unrecognizable to the version of yourself that they once knew. When you outgrow someone, you don't have to tell them. You don't have to post about it. You don't even have to make an announcement. They'll see it in the way you move. They'll notice it when they can no longer predict your actions or push your buttons. They'll feel it when you no longer respond the way you used to. Outgrowing them means your goals are bigger than your grudges. It means you're so focused on building the life you want that you simply don't have the time or space to entertain the one they tried to keep you in. It's not an overnight shift. It's a process of choosing every day to feed your growth more than your bitterness. You wake up and invest in your mind, your body, your craft, your environment, and little by little, the pain they cause starts losing its weight because your new life is too heavy with purpose to carry the old wounds. And here's the thing, they may try to re-enter your life, not always to reconcile, but sometimes to see if they still have the same power over you. That's where your growth will be tested. The old you might have been tempted to prove yourself, to flaunt your progress in their face, but the new you understands that the real power is in letting your life speak for itself. You don't need to convince them you've changed. You just need to keep changing. They'll catch glimpses of the new you through mutual connections, through the way people talk about you, through the quiet shift in your energy, and the more they realize they no longer recognize you, the more they'll understand that they've been left behind. When you outgrow someone, it's not about revenge. It's about creating such a distance between who you are now and who you were with them that there's no bridge left to cross. You don't look back for validation. You don't pause for their reaction. You just keep moving forward, because your future is too important to be slowed down by people who belong in your past. And as you keep building, you start to notice how the need for revenge fades, because you've replaced it with something far more powerful. Self-respect. When you're busy elevating, their opinion stops mattering. Their presence stops mattering. Even their absence stops mattering. They become just another chapter in your story, one you don't feel the need to reread. And that's the point where you've truly won. Not because you beat them, but because you've reached a level of peace they can't touch. The most satisfying form of revenge is to reach a point where you no longer want it. Because the truth is, the moment you no longer crave payback is the moment you've taken back your power. When someone wrongs you, they often expect you to stay in that wounded place, to keep replaying the hurt, to keep them alive in your mind by feeding the story over and over. And every time you do that, you're still giving them control, letting them influence your mood, your choices, your self-worth. But when you start focusing on your healing instead of their punishment, you break that chain. You stop measuring your success by whether or not they're suffering and start measuring it by how much lighter, stronger, and free you feel. Because revenge keeps you tied to them. Healing sets you free. Healing means you're no longer asking why it happened. You're no longer seeking closure from them. You're creating your own closure by deciding that their actions do not get to define you. It's about choosing to repair the parts of yourself they damaged, not to prove anything to them, but to restore the peace within you. And in that process, you begin to notice something. Your energy shifts. You laugh more. You sleep better. You feel more present in your own life. You're no longer looking over your shoulder wondering if they're watching, because you're too busy living. And here's the part they never see coming. When you genuinely heal, you don't just move past the pain. You move beyond the version of yourself that was shaped by it. You shed the bitterness, the resentment, the need for them to feel what you felt. You start making choices from a place of power instead of reaction. And that's when you become untouchable. Because the things they once used to hurt you no longer have the same effect. The buttons they pushed aren't even there anymore. And when you reach that point, it doesn't matter if they apologize or if they never acknowledge the damage they caused. It doesn't matter if they win or lose in life. Because your healing isn't dependent on their downfall. It's built on your decision to reclaim your life, your time, your peace. And that is the kind of revenge that doesn't just end the story. It rewrites it completely. They may have started the chapter, but you decide how it ends, and you decide it ends with you whole, strong, and completely uninterested in whether they ever understand what they lost. The ultimate revenge is living so fully, so unapologetically, that the person who tried to break you becomes irrelevant. Not because you ignore what happened, but because you've built a life so expansive that their shadow no longer reaches you. When someone tries to tear you down, their power over you lives in the space you give them. Your thoughts, your conversations, your emotional energy. Every time you tell their story, replay the betrayal, or wait for karma to catch up, you're giving them free rent in your mind, and they're collecting interest on your peace. But the moment you redirect that energy into building something for yourself, you shift the dynamic completely. You stop letting them be the center of the narrative, and you place yourself there instead. And this doesn't happen overnight. It happens through consistent action. By waking up each day and asking, how do I make my life better today? Not, how do I make them regret what they did? Because regret isn't something you can force. It's something they feel when they see you thriving in a way that has nothing to do with them. They may expect you to collapse, to give up, to be bitter forever, So the most unexpected and piercing response is to evolve into someone even stronger, more capable, and more fulfilled than you were before they crossed you. Every accomplishment becomes a quiet declaration that they failed to break you. Every joy you create becomes proof that you've outgrown the cage they try to put you in. And here's the irony. When you stop trying to hurt them back and focus instead on your own growth, they often end up haunted by the very thing they tried to prevent your success. They might never say it, but deep down they know they fueled the very fire that now lights your path, and they can't control it anymore. Your life becomes the evidence of your resilience, and it's not the loud, vengeful kind of revenge. It's the silent, undeniable kind that needs no announcement, the kind where one day they look at you, and they can't even recognize the person they once tried to destroy, because you've built a life so rich, so intentional, so far removed from them, that they realize their chapter in your story is over. And the book is still going. The most devastating revenge is not their downfall. It's your rise, and your rise doesn't require their permission, their approval, or their acknowledgement. It only requires you to decide that you're done living in response to them and ready to live entirely for yourself.